So our theme for November is generosity. And our companion book this month is Dare to Prosper by Catherine Ponder. It's a really brief book. I invite you all. It's 66 pages. That's it. You could read this in 2 days. Because that is where generosity, that is a part of generosity. Prosperity is a part of generosity. So I hope you would join the Leadership Council, because that is our book for November as well. Dare to prosper. Dare to be generous. So the talk today is generous love. Elect loving kindness. So we already did that, right? Chris took us to the polls, and we pressed that button, vote loving kindness. Yes? So, I like to start with definitions. And so the definition for generosity is a readiness in giving, freedom from meanness or smallness of mind or character. That one right there surprised me, that definition. Freedom from meanness or smallness of mind or character. Largeness or fullness, amplitude. And the word generosity comes from a Latin word that means of noble birth and excellence. So the word generous has the suffix us, O-U-S, right? And so the word generous means possessing and full of. So throughout today's service, I am inviting you to do a little call and response with me. Stay muted, but we're going to do a little call and response. So I want you to remember that us, O-U-S, and generous means full of. Y'all got that? It means full of. So when I say, what are we full of? You say, full of us. Y'all got that? All right, we'll see. So when we're talking about generosity, we are talking about what we possess, right? Possessing, what we possess, and what we are full of. Now, what are we full of? Okay, all right. Just checking. And one of those definitions for generous is of noble birth. Of noble birth. This is why I love digging into the origins of words, right? Of noble birth. So Ernest Holmes writes this in the Science of Mind text, that spirit creates through the contemplation of itself. So we are noble because we are a creation of spirit's contemplation of itself as each and every one of us. So what are we full of? Full of us. That's right. We are full of spirit, God, love, life itself. Each of us are a demonstration of spirit's generosity. Spirit is so generous. God could have just made one of us, right? And that's it, just one person. But no, Spirit made a multitude of us, of nature, of everything. The variety is abundant, it's prosperous, right? So each of us is a demonstration of Spirit's generosity manifested as an individualized expression of each of us. And we have the opportunity to demonstrate that generosity by electing to be God's representative, Spirit's representative, love's representative of loving kindness in the world now. So I'm inviting us to focus our intention on the generosity of loving kindness. Loving kindness means to feel love and to be kind to ourselves and to others. Ernest writes in the Science of Mind text, he references the Psalms 23. And he says this: we must instill into the mind the fundamental proposition that good is without bounds. Only good and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life. We must accept this concept rather than continuing to think there is a power of evil as opposed to the power of good. There is a power of good in the universe, and we can use it. Anyone familiar with that quote from Ernest Holmes? Yes, it's probably one of the most popular quotes behind change your thinking, change your life. The power of good that we can use is loving kindness. Loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life. We follow the power of loving kindness, and loving kindness follows us through every condition, every challenge, every obstacle, and even every election. Even every election. So voting itself is an act of loving kindness. Voting is a heroic act. Many of our ancestors protested, rallied, sacrificed, were beaten, and even killed for the right to vote. I vote because my ancestors were full of us. Full of us. Yes, they were full of the generosity for future generations. So voting is an act of love for humankind. I have a t-shirt that says, human and kind, be both. So generosity invites us to remember our spiritual birthright, right? Because we are of noble birth. We are of noble birth. The generosity of spirit contemplating itself. And here we are of noble birth. We get to live a prosperous life through the demonstration of God's generosity, of its givingness of itself to each and every one of us. We are the living, breathing demonstration of God's generosity. And as such, we get to choose to be generous through the act of loving kindness. So the invitation is to embody God as our source, our substance, and our supply, no matter what, no matter where, no matter who is elected. This is what we can elect to be in the world. We can elect loving kindness. We can refuse to be hypnotized by what we see. We can refuse to be confused by the polls and the pundits. We can act like we know, act like you know there is a power for good in the universe and use it. That power includes loving kindness. It is what we are full of. What are we full of? We are full of us. It is what we are created from. It is us. So let's make a decision to be generous wherever we go by electing to be the embodiment of loving kindness. Generosity is aligned with the law of giving and receiving, which teaches us that anything of value in life only multiplies when it is given. So give loving kindness and it will return to you multiplied. Multiplied. So let us elect to give abundantly, generously, loving kindness. Be attuned to the truth of that which is being revealed through and as you, as that representative of God's love and kindness. So I have some homework for us this month. It comes from Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success. There's 3 things. You could pick one. You want to challenge yourself a little bit, go a little deeper, do all 3. So when you meet someone, silently send them a blessing. Just silently send them a blessing, wishing them happiness, joy, and laughter. This kind of silent generosity is very powerful. Practice this. Next time you go into a store and someone's checking you out, the cashier is checking you out, just send them a silent blessing. While you're waiting in line, send them the blessing and see what happens when you get up there. It works, y'all. So that's one. Silently bless people. Number 2. Now, if you're feeling courageous, if you're feeling a little heroic, compliment someone you don't know. See how they take that in. Most people will be surprised, right? So you smile, you look them in the eyes, and you see their humanity and give them a compliment just for their presence on the planet. And then the third one, and actually I should say the third one is something that I hope everyone will do or has done already, which is vote. So I already participated by going to the polls early, which I love to do. And I was happily surprised to see that there was a line for early voting. So if you have not done so already, I believe today is the last day for early voting. Tuesday is election day. Elect Lovingkindness. Chris has already shown us how to do so. Just circle it in. Yes. So in closing, I want to share this post. I saw this post the other day on my friend's Facebook page. And so some of you may have seen this. And I love this so much because it reflects what I choose to see most of the time when I go within. That space of generosity, that connectedness that we have towards each other in our prayers for humanity. So I just invite you to go within and listen to these words as our closing prayer today. There is a massive change for the better happening on the planet right now. This change won't be on the news, and it hasn't gone viral. And if you don't look for it, you won't even notice it's happening. This change is quietly happening in the hearts of humanity. People are realizing that we become what we focus our attention on. And we influence this reality based on who we become. So people are realizing that fighting is senseless and focusing on the chaos is futile. Rather, people are quietly focusing on creating their version of heaven on earth. They are healing themselves and focusing on creating more beauty. People have realized that awakening to one's own divinity is what protects them from manipulation and allows them to become the change they want to see. It's sweeping through nations, but it's hard to notice. However, its strength is growing in numbers, not strength in numbers to fight. Fighting only breeds more fighting. It's strength in numbers to create such a beautiful world that it will be obvious for others to join, to the point where one day they will hold a war and no one will come. The frequencies of war, greed, and manipulation will no longer be able to exist in a reality of sovereign, awakened beings living connected to their divinity. So let us share in the generosity by being full. What are we being full of? Full of us. Full of us. Elect loving kindness. Be generous with yourself and with each other, no matter what. Peace and blessings, everyone.